Hello everyone, this is your host, Gemma Putty, bringing health and wellness conversations from North Idaho and across this region. I am so excited to chat with the entrepreneurs, creatives, and believers as we journey together to connect more deeply to ourselves, our earth, and our communities. Cheers to shining bright and supporting local.
Welcome to Vibrant Living Conversations. I'm your host, Gemma Putty. For today's interview, I'm talking with Jasmine DeMarcos, life coach helping elder millennials and zennials to rediscover who they are and pursue the beautiful life they deserve. Jasmine was also my coaching buddy through the Beautiful You Coaching Academy training. So we got to learn alongside each other and coach each other last year. I'm so excited that she agreed to join me today to unpack what life coaching is, how it works, and how it can help you. So thank you, Jasmine, for joining me. Welcome.
Hey, thank you. Happy to be here.
Yay. So let's dive into specifically your story, your passion, and your purpose for becoming a life coach.
Yeah, so that started a long time ago. It was at least a decade ago, I figure, when I first started hearing about life coaching and being curious about it and really interested. Martha Beck was someone who was a huge influence on me.
Okay.
And she's a life coach and she's written several books. And as I would read her books, I would think, oh, this is the kind of work I want to do. I want to help people, discover, more about who they are and what their purpose is and help them to feel more fulfilled in life. Not that I would do that for them, but that I could be a conduit, I could help facilitate that for themselves. And I, a decade ago when I first started thinking about it, I just thought, oh, I don't have enough life experience and I feel too lost myself. And who am I to do this work? All that story. And then I think just gradually that whisper telling me that this work is, that call just got louder and louder. And finally last year, not this past Christmas, but the one before, I just thought, yes, the time is now. And I just did a very small amount of research on all the different programs I could possibly take. And I went with my gut to go with Beautiful You coaching program. And I'm really glad I feel like it was a perfect choice. And, being matched up with you, I just feel like it's been perfect.
I love that. Yeah. And it's interesting because you and I we were matched so perfectly in that we both have like corporate communications backgrounds, really, right? I think me doing communication strategy right now at an engineering firm. And then do you want to talk a little bit about what you were doing before and how it just didn't line up with you as a human being?
Yeah, and I'm still doing a bit of that. Doing some as on a contract basis, but yeah, I doing corporate communications for a utility company, and it's all good. It's it's a lot of very pragmatic work, talking about electricity, natural gas, and things like that. But it just, I definitely felt called, and even in my job, and I think this is true of a lot of us who feel called to coaching. A lot of my colleagues would come to me wanting a sympathetic ear, or wanting some advice, or wanting some guidance, or wanting to bounce some ideas off of. And I felt like I was already doing a lot of coaching at my job. That's not what I was getting paid for to be there, but certainly doing a lot of that. But yeah, so I think I'll still end up doing a bit of communications work going forward as I get more into the coaching thing. Maybe I'll be doing less of that, but
yeah. It was fun to have us both in that just understanding of, even as we've transitioned from like how work life needs to be, like work life in some businesses is very structured and productive and like functional, and we both come from that. So moving into the coaching realm where we're trying to create businesses that are heart-centered and flowy, but still within this like masculine structure of like getting stuff done and finding clients, it's been fun to find that dance with you, since we both understand both ways of living.
Yeah, absolutely.
Awesome. So I know as we've both started to life coach and find clients, there's some clients that really know what life coaching is, and others that kind of roll their eyes, or not even roll their eyes, but just glaze over when they're like, you're a life coach? What does that mean? So how do you respond to that? I mean, let's start with, what is life coaching not, if that's easier, or either way, how would you approach it?
Yeah, and I know, and you and I have just talked a lot about this, that in our program, we talked a lot about the fact that it's not counseling. So that seems to be the biggest thing, is that people think that it's going to be similar to counseling. And I'm very clear about that, as our program was. Like, you know, they were, you know, our lead trainer and one of her other main trainers came from a counseling background. And so that's something that thankfully we got a lot of that education about the distinction, and to be very careful, because we're not trained counselors. So we're not trained to get into people's trauma and things like that. Like, we shouldn't go in there, because we could do more harm than good.
Right.
But at the same time, it's also, if people are coming to a coach, generally speaking, what they're looking for is that they want to be moving forward. They don't want to be excavating the past. And that can be a very useful thing, but this is not, I very much believe in counseling. I've seen a counselor. It's a very different thing. Like, sometimes you want to sit in the weeds of it and go, okay, what happened? How did I get here? And looking at all the people in your life, and, you know, how things got to be the way they are. Counseling is great for that. And what we do as coaches is so different. It's, you know, there's a little bit of overlap, of course, but generally speaking, we're looking at, okay, here's where you are now, and here's where you want to be, you know, and helping them refine that vision of where they want to be. And then saying, okay, what are the steps that you're going to take to get there? And how can I support you in that? What do you think? Anything I missed?
Yeah, no, I think you're totally on point. I think that I always say that forward focus piece, like able to be in a good place with your past, that you're just ready to move forward and not necessarily always elevate, but do things in a way that's more aligned to who you are or who you want to be. So yeah, I would completely agree. And I mean, I've even said, some people have said that, I mean, we hold space for our clients, right? They do process things. They're processing how they're showing up right now, why they're thinking what they're thinking, and what needs to shift to be able to reach the goal. It's not that, like you said, it's not the piece where they're trying to heal what's happened in the past. It's like they're just processing it, and then we're moving forward. So holding space for someone to understand the way that they're living, which I love. When you coached me, I loved it, where it's suddenly you can see your own life and how you're showing up in a whole new way through your coach's like ability to reflect back to you, ask you powerful questions, and help you stay focused on where you said you wanted to go at the beginning of your coaching session. So
yeah, absolutely.
Yeah.
And I think it's like, I had a client who was seeing a therapist at the same time that she was seeing me, which is interesting. And sometimes we would come up against something and it would be like, okay, well, maybe that's more of a thing to talk about with your therapist. But the feedback I got from her at the end of it was, she said, you know, after the work that we did and some of the questions I asked her and some of the explorations she did, the journaling exercises that, you know, we talked about, she ended up having major shifts in her relationship with her father and some other things that weren't part of our goals, you know, but it just, I think, like, to your point, like what kind of the magic that happens when you're being coached, just having that focused attention on you and having someone reflect back to you the things that you're saying, just the incredible insights that you can get, and how that can have such a really positive ripple effect on all areas of your life. So
no, completely. And bring up things that maybe you didn't realize you did need to heal. I also have a client who had a money goal. Like, she has a lot of anger and stress around money, and just when she's started to dive into it, she's realized that it's coming from her childhood. So the same with her, she's talking to other sources, she's talking to a counselor, she's talking to family to understand like how her childhood beliefs around money got her kind of in this place that she is. But at the same time, she's also taking like forward action into becoming to create the new relationship she wants to with money. But she, coming into the coaching session, she didn't have that realization that, oh my gosh, this is coming from my childhood. Like, this is something else I need to deal with on a different level. So it's been cool watching. Yeah. Like you said, just things, once you start talking and have the space held for you, you're like, ahas, right?
Yes. Absolutely.
Love it. Well, we mentioned the Beautiful You Coaching Academy a little bit, which is where you and I both went. And I think we both had a similar experience where when I knew I wanted to sign up for life coach training, I didn't do a lot of research. I found Beautiful You through another lady that I listened to out of Australia. I just naturally migrate towards like Australian, Canadian things. It's probably my Britishness. But once I found Beautiful You Coaching Academy, I'm like, I don't need to look anywhere else. It was the heart-centered, even the coaches I resonated with, I think I thought of life coaching as like harsh and just kind of drill sergeant-y to start with, maybe. And then realizing that it doesn't have to be that way. Life doesn't have to be that way. It doesn't have to be this masculine, structured like thing. It can be loving, and that's actually way more sustainable, especially for females, probably for males too, but especially for females. So what would you say about Beautiful You that attracted you?
Very similar to what you're saying. I did look at a couple of their programs, like Martha Beck's, for example, was one I was curious about, and some others. I'm sure there's other programs that would be great. I kept coming back to the Beautiful You page. I kept, coming because I was looking at a bunch of other coaches that I follow and seeing where they got trained, and a few of them were Beautiful You coaches.
Right.
And I just kept coming back to that, like you said, the heart-centered piece. Like that's something that is all throughout the Beautiful You page, and they talk so much about that, and that really spoke to me because just like you, I'm not into the drill sergeant thing. and I think some of the coaching programs just seem fairly, I don't want to say clinical in how they approach coaching, but almost it's like, okay, there's a very clear template, someone has a goal, they're going from here to here, it's very simple, straightforward process. And
right.
I thought, that kind of leaves a lot of the messiness of humanity out of it.
Right. Yeah.
That space to just kind of be with someone and to use your intuition and your heart to, be able to sit with this person and to have each session unfold as it needs to.
No, for sure.
That was something that really appealed to me.
No, for sure. And I think I don't want to put words in your mouth, but I know even when I got into our training program, I don't think I had actually realized what life coaching was. Like, I think I was still expecting that I had to have more answers. And I think the beautiful thing that unfolded very fast was realizing that life coaching is believing that each of us are the experts of our own lives, like that innately we have our own wisdom, right? So really, as a life coach, we are facilitating the client to be able to realize that by asking powerful questions, by reflecting back to them. And I'm getting chills like thinking about it, because I'm like, yes, it's such a more beautiful way to support someone in their life. So it's like we're setting them up for it, whether it's 3 months or in 6 months, they're empowered and that much more in tune with themselves and their needs and their values and how they want to live, than feeling like they now need to just bounce to another life coach to support them for the next 3, 6 months, whatever. Right?
Yes, 1,000% yes. That was something that was huge for me, like very early on in our training, when they would talk about that. You're the expert of your own life. Everyone is the expert of their own life. So just kind of helping us to shed any notion of you're going to have to give your clients answers was, I think, both an aha moment and a relief, and also really inspiring,
Yeah, totally.
Just to, like it's just such a beautiful and thrilling idea because I think we're taught from the get-go, when you're a very small child, like obviously like your parents have all the answers, and eventually as sometimes you get older, you're like, oh, okay, no, they don't have no. Your parents and your older siblings, they're telling you what's what, they're telling you what to do, and you get to school and then you have teachers telling you what to do, and you're trying to please them so you can get an A, and then you're out in the working world and trying to do what it takes to get the next step ahead and trying to please everyone. And it's we forget that we have the answers. We forget who we are. We forget that we have, that there's so much that we can access in ourselves. And we start at a certain age, just constantly looking to those outside sources for information, for validation. Should I do this? Should I do that? And I'm so guilty of this too, of like, getting into some of the more mystical things in life too. Like, okay, I don't know what I should do. So maybe I'll get a tarot card reading, or I'll go see a psychic, or I'll, look at someone will tell me my astrological chart or something like that. It's like, because I don't know what to do. But what I love about coaching is that it's all about helping someone realize that they do have the answers, that they do know themselves. It's just that after a lifetime of being conditioned to look outside, you just might need someone to sit with you and ask the right questions and reflect back to you. And it's so great to see people come up to the side of that and go, yeah, I do know what I want.
Exactly. Yes. Oh, I love that so much. And I think you did that for me, even when you were coaching me, is I think I came, and it's so easy when we're in our own minds, thinking about our day to day and how we should be, or how we need to be in the world to blah, 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 blah. It's so easy to just beat yourself up and like, I'm not doing this right, and I need to be doing this, and this very, again, masculine way of living. And just having someone reflect back to you, like, you're actually really intuitive. Like, look at this, and this that you've been doing. And oh, maybe you don't need to force yourself into a box of doing Kundalini every morning, Gemma, because that's not actually the flowy way that you're saying you want to live. So yeah, helping realize and direct them towards themselves for answers and it's so empowering, right? It's so empowering to be in that place.
It really is. And I know, and you did that for me too. And I remember it as well, like just, how you did for me, like just helping me like be gentler with myself all the time. And I think that's such a, I think that's one of my favorite things about being coached and coaching is that you have someone giving you permission to go easier on yourself. And I just think we don't get enough of that in our lives.
Right. No, completely. Now, I know both of us didn't look at a lot of other coaching models, but I'd love to highlight for people like what the uniquenesses are of the Beautiful You coaching way. Do you want to start touching on some of them and I'll like chime in?
Well, I mean, one aspect of it is that it's very feelings based. It's very, like it's not counseling, but it is really getting you deeply in touch right from the get-go with the questionnaire, the pre-coaching questionnaire that we send out. It's like getting people in touch with how are you feeling now about your life?
Right.
What's great, what's not so great, what's not working, and what do you want to feel at the end of this? It's not, it's like, yes, we're asking people what they want to accomplish, what they want to achieve. But I think the most, a lot of the focus is on how you want to feel at the end of it. And I love that approach. So I'd say that's one big piece of it.
Yeah, for sure. And even in each of the sessions, right, with the model, specifically the Beautiful You model, we start by tapping into the feelings that we're having of each of our goals to start with. And then by the end of the series, whether it's 3 months or 6 months or whatever it is, like tapping into like, okay, have you gotten to that feeling that you wanted to get? Because we realize so much where we unpack our motivations for acting and showing up in the world it's really, we're driving towards getting to a feeling, whether it's a stability or feeling loved or a peace. And sometimes our way of getting to those feelings are all sorts of toxic or backwards, right? But it's like helping find what am I trying to say? Just tapping into what those core value feelings are for you. And I think for everyone, it's different. I know for me, creativity is a huge one, connected, but then I also want to feel free. So I know what they are, and they've driven my life for so much, and realizing that that's my motivation for all of my actions. So anyway, feeling in each of the series, like asking our clients, like, how are you feeling about this right now? You realize, I think we both realize that that's kind of a foreign concept to some people. It's excited? I don't really know, which is a beautiful space to also like help people tap into what is going on in you. Like, how is your body responding to it? How are you receiving this? So
Yes, absolutely. Yeah, just that constant checking in, and also leaving room for, I think there can be this expectation of like, oh, okay, I'm going to start down here and then I'm going to go up here. So I might be feeling, sad about this right now, and I'm expecting to feel 100% excited and complete by the end. And it'll just be this upward trajectory. And I think, we both have experience of with each other and with other clients is that, it's a bit of a roller coaster, and you're certainly everyone, at least in my experience thus far, comes out the other side feeling like, yes, like I'm definitely, I have gotten to where I want to be with this, but it's not a linear thing. It kind of bounces all over the place. 1 week you feel like, oh, I had this amazing week and I got all the things done that I wanted to, and I feel amazing about it. And then the next week, so like something went awry and you didn't feel like doing anything, and you're, feeling a bit frustrated and hopeless. And then, so I think just kind of checking our expectations about that.
Yeah. And about life, right? It's like there's ebbs and flows. I've had some people show up and they're like, I didn't do any of my actions. and I'm like, I get it. Like sometimes you have crazy weeks, and it's not about like holding yourself to feeling one way all the time, because that is not realistic. And that's just going to lead to all sorts of breakdowns. So it's just like understanding the process, and then realizing that you can pull yourself back on track. You know that you want to feel this way, and sometimes you're going to get there, sometimes you're not, but realizing that you can go back to like feeling the way that you want to feel, even if you get off course a little bit here and there.
Yeah, absolutely. Well, and I think a friend of mine had, some family member asked her in a very concerned way, "Are you happy?" Because she's, she is not married and doesn't have kids, and that was a concern to this family member.
Oh,
was,
right.
And I just thought that's such a, I understand where it's coming from. Like that impulse is like, I want my family, I want my loved ones to be happy. But when you break it down, I mean, happy is one of those words. It's like nice, like, what does that mean? It's such a generic catch-all kind of term. And I think we can be really reductive with that. And it's like, it's so many of us are taught that like, we shouldn't leave room for all of the messy human emotions. We should just strive to feel happy and
productive,
right? Yes, exactly. Just like, that's all we have room for in our society. And if you have anything else, if you feel a bit sad or something, well, that's something you should go get drugs for. Go get yourself some Prozac, whatever. But just, like you said, like so many clients, when you ask your clients and they say, oh, I don't know how I feel. I don't have a feeling about that. It's just, I think we're taught that, okay, there's only 1 or 2 acceptable emotions to have, and the rest you should just kind of stuff down and not really feel them. So I think that's something that we can do as well. Again, not like counselors, but, like we can be there for a client saying, what, actually I had a bad day. Like I'm feeling really sad about this, and I'm still feeling stuck, and I didn't get as much done as I wanted to do. And it's like, hey, that's okay. Like we're here for it. And also, how do you want to move forward? Given that that's how you're feeling, what is going to make you feel the way you want to feel, whatever that is.
No, for sure. I love that. Well, and I also love beautiful you that it is goals. Like the basis is goals. Like for a 3-month series, we generally create 3 goals. I mean, it's not cut and dry, but basically that's about the space. Like we meet every 2 weeks. So we have 3 goals, and that's enough time to set actions for each of those goals and to reflect on actions from the past 2 weeks. And I found that structure really helpful, because so often, especially after we send out like the pre-coaching questionnaire, which asks, I don't even know how many questions, like 8-10 questions, right? Where it's kind of like, what's working, what's not working? How do you want to feel by the end of the coaching series? All of those, that I find to be like a brain dump of life. So the goals is the opportunity that we help the client go through and sort all of that. Like, okay, what's really rising to the top to you here? Number 1, number 2, number 3. And again, those goals are pretty simple, but they're very feelings focused, or simple just in like their structure, but they're kind of encompassing how the person wants to feel about their body, about money, about whatever it is within the 3 months or the 6 months. And I just love that clarity. Then throughout the rest of the coaching session, there's this focus on, whereas I've been in other coaching series, it's a little more like hoop-de-hoop. And I'm like, what am I going to talk about this time? So this just really, you feel like after the 3 months, you've had a lot of time to think about, process, and accomplish those 3 goals.
Yeah, absolutely.
Yeah.
Yeah. And I think that works really well for most people. Like most of the clients that I've seen thus far, that has worked amazingly, like that, using that approach. But I do have a client who's like, from her questionnaire, I thought, oh, okay, so here's basically the 3 areas that you want to work on, and you'll set that up. And then when we got into it, she only wanted to work on one thing. And she wanted to go about it a bit of a different way. And so I think that's the great thing too, is that we're not like, even though like we have this great model to follow and it works 99% of the time, there's also a lot of room for flexibility and for each client to bring, to ask for what they need.
I love that. And I think we've talked about it a little bit too with each of our clients. You realize we have this somewhat structure that we use, but you realize every time you get on a new coaching call that everyone is different. And that's the beauty in life. Like, that is the beauty, to tap into what that person needs, what their values are, what is true for them. And we're just there to ask the questions, to bring that out and to support them in whatever way that comes out. So well said. Yes, we have it as our own backbone, but ultimately we know that each session is going to be what it needs to be.
Yes, totally. I mean, I think I told you, I had a client who didn't like the word goal. Like she had goals, but she didn't want to call them that. She wanted to call them visions. Because if I said the word goal, it would kind of trip her up. It was a bit of a trigger word for her. It's just, yeah, I don't know. I love that. But like everyone.
I do it too. Yes, I love that. Well, here's a question that I've kind of come across too is, who is a good fit for life coaching as far as being a client? Do you have a good answer for that?
Do I have a good answer for that? I don't know. I mean, first of all, you have to be willing and able to show up every 2 weeks at the appointed time. Like that certainly is important. If your life is really kind of hectic and all over the place and you're going to have to cancel and shift appointments, like it's just going to make the whole thing not very effective, and it's going to be a lot harder for us to reschedule because we've got other things going on too. So just in a very practical sense, but also I think in terms of how effective the coaching can be, I think you need to be able to commit to that. You need to be able to commit to the whole series and to showing up every 2 weeks, and also to doing the actions in between. I mean, you're maybe not going to hit 100% every week, and you and I definitely had to give each other some leeway on that. On life is crazy. You're like, yeah, okay, I only did 2 of the things. I was going to do 4 things and I only did 2 of them. But I think generally speaking, from week to week, you need to be committed to doing at least the majority of your actions.
Yeah.
And there's no judgment. Like, I've definitely had periods of life where I would not have been able to do that. I would not have been able to effectively show up for coaching series. So I think you just have to ask yourself honestly where you're at in life. Like, do you have the time, the mental bandwidth, and the time and energy to go for it? So I think all those things are important. Beyond that, I think an openness and a curiosity.
Yeah, for sure.
I think those are really valuable. And because I think you can, all of us, and myself included, when you're coaching me, I can show up and I have an idea of, okay, this is what this is about. This is what I want to do. But if you're reflecting back to me, like, okay, well, this is what I'm actually hearing from you, I need to be open to that and go, oh, that's interesting. Like, I'm here thinking that it's about this, and you're telling me that this is what you're hearing. If I'm open to that, I'm going to get so much more out of it. I'm going to get so much more out of our work together and going forward. And I think for some people that's tricky because they really still want to hold on to what they thought it was about.
Yeah, no, that's a really good point. I love, and it's interesting that even with like the 2 weeks, because I've chosen like my initial niche to be midlife working moms. And it's been like, I just finished a coaching series yesterday, and we signed on for 3 months, and the 6 sessions ended up taking 6 months because one thing and another happened and I'm realizing that for me, like holding the space for midlife working moms, like if they're willing to sign on and show up and make that, it's been so powerful because they have 5 million things going on, and they have like taken the time to realize that, okay, it gets a little messy and things come up like doctor's appointments in the last minute, but they're going to keep like showing up for themselves, and it has been a lot more messy than with some of my other clients, but watching them almost realize that showing up for themselves, even if it's every 3 weeks or every 2.5 weeks or every 10 days, like they're still coming back. It's been so powerful with that too. But it is, they've committed to themselves to do it. Like sometimes, they're like, okay, my kid's gone to bed at 8:30. Now I'm just going to take a nap. But tomorrow I'm going to show up and do these assignments. And they're like this whole new empowered version of themselves as the moms that they want to be for their kids has been cool to watch, But again, it's like the openness and vulnerability, I think, is the key in all clients, is openness to having your own vision, but also like letting your inner self come out and continue shaping that along the way too, right?
Yeah, 100%. And you're so right about that. I don't think I've had a single mom as a client. And I know like that, of course, that is going to change everything. When you have these tiny beings that are so dependent on you and you have to structure your life around them. I mean, yeah, that makes so much sense.
But I also like, it's fun that we have our niches, that's where I am in life too. I'm like, I've got kind of random meetings. Scheduling with me is not like as clean as putting it on a scheduler, because I'm just kind of bouncing it back and around between their schedule and my schedule. But it's fun because I'm in that niche and it just lines up that way, which is why I chose the niche that I chose. But
yes, and I need to correct myself and say when I worked with you, obviously you're a mother, so that's not true. I have had one client.
Oh yes,
mom, and it was you.
What I think for us too, like the midlife working piece, like we've gotten to this, and I know so many women that have gotten to this point in life and they're like, what are we doing? We worked and we worked and we worked. And now like I see it as kind of a version of a midlife crisis of just realizing that we're done like looking outside for all of our answers. And we're like, the calling for inner self and peace has been something that has come up with all of my clients recently, is that they just want peace. They want peace with themselves and they want the world to stop pushing at them,
Yeah. Yes. Well, I think I've been to a fair number of workshops and retreats, and where 99%, if not 100, of the people there are women, people who identify as women, and it just seems, and a lot of them are older. A lot of them are midlife or older, and they're coming up to the point where they're finishing with work or they're already done work, and they're like, I played by the rules. I did everything I was supposed to, and what did I get for it? Like, I feel burnt out. I'm tired. Yes. I'm uninspired. Yeah, sure, maybe I have a nice house, but like, what did I get for playing by the rules?
Right. Yeah, no, seriously. This is kind of random. I pulled up this quote from your website because I was loving your website. So I'm just going to read it really quick. Even in the most unconscious moments of my life, I've held a steadfast belief that we are meant to be fully, freely alive, to be lit up, excited to start the day, and gratefully fulfilled each night when we go to sleep, counting our blessings instead of sheep, that we each deserve ease, peace, joy, and meaning in our lives. And it like gives me chills. Like, that's amazing. Like, yeah. I think that's how you and I have both gotten to this point, is there's always been some innate part of us that's like, this isn't this stressed out, exhausted, fried. There's not a way to live. It's not, there is a more enlightened, peaceful, joyful way to live. So
yeah, it's like just giving yourself permission to want more. I think
Yeah.
to want that, like you said, to want that freedom, to want to feel like creatively fulfilled, like all those things that you said your values, and those are certainly a couple of my values as well. And it's, we get told, especially as women, that you're selfish for wanting those things. Like you should just be satisfied with having a good job and good benefits and taking care of your family and, you know, just showing up every day and, you know, like,
Right.
and then being the, you know, then there's the whole lean in piece where then you're also supposed to be a super mom and you're also supposed to go to the gym 5 days a week and you're supposed to drink your green smoothie every day. And it's like, okay, what, like whatever piece of that serves you, amazing, fantastic. If that's truly what lights you up and that's what gets you going and you feel at peace and, you know, and you have that ease in your life, that's wonderful. But I think for so many of us, it's just, we're doing those things because we feel like it's expected of us. We feel like that's what gets you the gold star. That's what gets you the likes on Instagram. That's what everyone in your life is expecting. And
Yeah.
and then, you know, like if you actually sit to question yourself, like, is this what I want? You know,
Right.
like have I lost sight of who I am and what I want, what makes me feel good?
Totally. Yeah. Realizing the actual reason that you're doing. Because some of that stuff I've done, and then I'm like, what am I doing? I'm so tired. Why am I doing this? And I'm like, I actually do like it. I have to quiet down some other areas of my life so I can like enjoy the things that I enjoy. So I'm not just making everything that I actually do like numbed out because I'm putting it in this like on the rat race of everything else. Right. So suddenly I'm not enjoying anything. It's like,
Yes.
like quieting down, realizing what's important, what needs to be priority in your life, and what can just like float away into the abyss. Right.
Yes. Yes. 100%.
Yeah.
Yeah. There's,
Yeah.
I mean, yeah, sometimes I have had to stop. Like I, you know, I do yoga and I do meditation. There's things, and I sometimes I have to stop those things. Like, okay, am I doing them because I really want to be doing them, or am I doing them because I think I should? And,
Yeah.
you know, and then I find out, oh no, I missed them when I don't do them. Okay. Like but I think sometimes, yeah, like we need to take that serious check-in with ourselves. And that's what, you know, the coach, you know, coach can help remind you to keep checking in with yourself, like keep questioning,
Yeah.
you know, are you going on autopilot, or
Right.
are the things you're doing the things you actually want to be doing?
No, for sure. Yes, I love that. Well, we kind of talked about what clients can expect from a coaching series. I mean, I think we both have the pre-coaching consult, which is just the first step that isn't, they don't have to pay for it. It's like we filled out the questionnaire, and that's a time for basically us both, the client and coach, to almost interview each other, right? To make sure it's a good fit before you dive into a 3-month or a 6-month coaching series. And then after that, it's however many series. The first one's goal setting so that you know how to move forward with the rest of the series, and then goal setting and action setting so that in the first 2 weeks they've got something to move towards, and then in the next series it's checking in on those actions, ahas, challenges before setting actions for the next steps. Anything else as far as vibe or expectation that you want to add to what people would expect from a coaching series?
I think that's a great summary of it. The only thing I can think to add to that right now is that it's, you know, you and I have seen that with, I think with each other and with other clients we've had, and we've also seen it through the training that we got, that some, you know, sometimes entire sessions will be totally different because, you know, the client comes and maybe something really big has happened in their life. You know, they just got a diagnosis or something, you know, like just something big in their life happened and it's kind of changed everything for them. And it's like, whoa, okay, like we're not going to do a standard session as usual. Like let's get back, you know, get back to basics. How are you feeling? Like what kind of support are you wanting right now? Like and it just, I think that, like you know, we've already alluded to that it just that having that freedom, that flexibility to show up for the client as they are right now in each session.
Yeah.
And so the client is not expected to, okay, even though this really big, crazy thing just happened to me, I have to, you know, show up and be totally focused on exactly what I said I was going to focus on. It's like, no, I mean, you can show up and be yourself, and we will show up and be right there with you.
No, completely. I love that. And the same with if they didn't do actions for any reason. Like we're not going to cancel your session. We're going to come together and we're going to unpack that. What happened? What was like causing you blocks? What wasn't going well? How can we reframe this and reshape it or take different actions that are going to resonate more with steps that you want to take? So yeah, love that. Well said. Yes. Yeah. So big loaded question that we've talked about a little bit, but how has life coaching changed your life from being coached to then training through Beautiful You to now coaching other women? Can you say that without like taking 5 hours?
Okay. Yeah, great question. The whole journey has been very empowering. And I think it's, if I had to sum it up in one word, that would be it. Okay. It has been very empowering. And to say a bit more, I think it's been being able to connect with you and the other people in our program. Like everyone was so wonderful. And I think even, like you and I said, like by the end of it, like there's some people that we weren't able to talk to or connect as much or get to know, but by the end of it, when you heard everyone talking about how they felt, like we were all crying and just it just was such a beautiful experience to connect with other women who are on a very similar life path and want to show up and help people, want to serve people.
Yeah.
And it was so affirming to be in that and feel like, oh yeah, like this is like, I'm part of this really beautiful community of women who are doing this amazing work and want to keep showing up. And it's not about, we're as coaches on some elevated plane. It's like, we're all in this messy soup together and we're all holding each other's hands in it. And one of the big things I got out of it is how much I want to continue being coached in my life. I mean, not constantly, but like I can see like the other coaches, like, all the trainers like talked about that. Like typically they'll get at least have like one coach a year kind of thing. Right. They'll see different coaches for different things. You can have a coach that you talk to about health. You can have a coach that you talk to about relationships. You can then go for coaching about your business. Like there's so many different coaches that specialize in so many things, and you're going to get so much out of any of them.
Right, for sure.
And just that and not just women too. I mean, I know like it is very, very heavily female field, but I would be curious to get coaching from a man too. And I'm also interested in coaching men. I'm very open to that. It's just that my experience thus far has been all with women. What am I trying to say? I think just that community, the support, like just how much of it is out there. Mm-hmm. And how just knowing all these other women, like I think sometimes when I would see coaches' websites before, I'd be like, oh, okay, like are they really out to help and serve, or do they just want to make money and this is an easy way to make money kind of thing? And something that really became so clear to me was how deeply committed each person was in our program to really showing up and serving people and wanting to help other people have the lives they want.
Yeah,
and it just felt so good to have that experience and to know that there's so many of us out there that are on this path.
No, for sure. And believe in life can be a beautiful, like aligned us, right? Us just dancing in ourselves, in our own skins and feeling good about it. Like wherever in the world we are, however we look. Like, and I think that was even the Beautiful You Coaching Academy it was based out of Australia, but there was people on calls. Obviously you're in Canada. I'm here in North Idaho. There was people in Brazil, Europe. Like, I think we literally had women
Sri Lanka.
It was, and that was like chilling to me as someone that's always kind of felt like an alien. As like, why am I always striving and like looking for more and questioning and being like finding this entire gigantic group of women that was feeling the same way and believed in holding space for other people to see that beauty in life and the human experience. That it's just like an awesome journey, but it, like you said too, it's always evolving. I've had some people that are like, a life coach, they don't need me. And I'm like, it's not a negative thing. Like coming to a life coach and being like, this just isn't working quite as, I don't know what's going on here. And it's just a beautiful way to untap what isn't working in your life. And and like you said, there's experts in all different kinds of areas of life coaching. that, yeah, I'm excited to continue to be coach because I just believe there's so much that I don't know. And even to realize my own filters. Like I have so many filters from the way I was raised, from the people I surround myself with. Well, what do I not know about how life could be and how I could be living that would feel way more aligned to myself? So
absolutely. Yeah. Oh, and I think, but what was beautiful about you and I coaching each other while we were learning and training is seeing how much, like how eye-opening it is to have, like we said before, to have someone reflect back to you verbally.
yeah,
Like, okay, well, what I'm hearing you say is this. And you're like, what? Like, and I know it's hard to describe to people who haven't experienced it, how truly mind-blowing it can be just to hear someone say your own words back to you, because it's amazing. And then, but the other piece of it is we offer email support in between sessions. And when we would write emails to each other, so much would come out of that too. That would be like, whoa, like just as you're writing about, okay, well, the last couple of weeks I did this and that, and I felt this. And often you'd have some really mind-blowing insights just from what you were writing too. And so it's just, yeah, like having that person there who's just entirely focused on your experience. And because I think you can kind of feel like, well, I've got friends who give me guidance and coaching. It's kind of the same thing, but it's really not. It's a very different energy. It's a very different exchange, because when you're the client who's being coached, it's all about you.
Yes.
And the coach is entirely focused on your experience, and they're not just listening to your words, they're also picking up on what they're feeling from you, your vibe, your energy, and reflecting that back to you. And it can just help you have really big shifts. So.
No, completely. Yes. Oh, well said. Yeah, I knew we could talk all day if we let ourselves.
Oh yeah, what time is it? Oh my goodness, yes. Okay.
Well, I'm wondering, would you like to talk a little bit more about like the niche that you chose and the clients that you work with?
Sure. Yeah. So yeah, when I say like elder millennials and zennials, I'm generally like people who are currently in their late 30s, early 40s. I think I know so many people. I mean, I'm kind of on one end of that spectrum myself. I'm 44 now. And I just know so many people in that age range who are just feeling like played by the rules. I've done what I was supposed to. I've gotten myself, I've climbed that ladder of whatever career I'm in, and I got the relationship, and maybe it's worked and maybe it hasn't. And maybe I have the family, maybe I don't, but like I've done the things I thought I was supposed to do, and I'm not happy. I'm not satisfied. I'm not feeling fulfilled. I don't wake up excited to go to work. I'm looking around at the people around me and thinking, I don't want to be you in 10 years. Like I'm, and
Yes.
I'm just not feeling, maybe that's like, I have a partner and they're great, but I'm not that psyched about our relationship and what the things we're doing on a daily basis. Like I feel stuck, and I keep looking at that, it's like painting yourself into a corner, it's like, okay, I've gathered all this experience, this education. It has qualified me to do exactly this.
Right.
And I've bought this house and I've created this lifestyle that has put me right here. And so like I have this one tiny little box that I can be in based on all the life decisions I made up to this point. And so what do I do if I'm not happy here? Happy, like how, like if I want to do something else, I'm gonna ruin everything, like maybe I have a family that's dependent on me. Maybe I have a mortgage now. Like I can't just turn on a dime and change everything.
Right.
And I think that's so many of the people I know are in that position. And I like find it very satisfying to say, hey, like, first of all, you don't have to blow up your entire life. You don't have to burn it all down. But you can start to look at, okay, like while I was busy doing all these things I thought I should be doing, like I was maybe losing sight of me and some of the things that I really love and some of the values I have. And so let's start to just unbury those and just bring them to the surface, and then say, okay, like what are some little steps we can take that will get me closer to feeling this thing I want to feel, or to have, having more freedom, having more creativity, whatever it is.
Yeah.
And you might find that those little shifts then do create room for a much bigger shift. Or it might just be that those little shifts are exactly what you needed. But
yeah, for sure.
I think for those people that time in their life when they're feeling like, okay, I feel really stuck, and yet I know I have like another 20 years of work ahead of me. Like, what do I do?
For sure. Yeah. And I think that's kind of the same even with me and midlife working moms. It's not like we're saying, okay, you're going to quit your job and you're moving to Europe. And it's not. Some of it is just very small shifts that you're finding 10 minutes in the morning for yourself to like breathe, to do yoga, to go for a walk, and then half an hour at night to do something to like reconnect yourself. And some of it's reframing just the mindset so that you can breathe a little bit and realize that you are focusing your time where you want it to be, or whatever needs to. It doesn't have to be this epic thing, but sometimes just changing, redesigning the framework on life gives it a whole new beautiful spin and grounds you into the life that you are living, and that it is beautiful and you're okay with it, you know?
Yeah, absolutely.
I love that. Yes. So how's the best way that people get to find you, Jasmine?
So I have my website, jasminedemarcos.com. And
I'll tag that in the show notes so people can go straight to it.
Awesome. Thank you. It's the best place. And then I'm also on Instagram at Jazz DeMarcos.
Okay, perfect. I'll tag
J-A-Z
that too.
my last name. Yeah. And those are the two main places. I just started posting. I posted one video on TikTok, and I plan to be showing up there more.
Perfect. Well, I always like to end by asking, my definition of vibrant is glowing from the inside out. So are there a couple of the key experiences in life or people who have inspired you in that way?
Going to Kripalu, the yoga center in Massachusetts, that was a big one for me. That was when I was 30, and I was there for almost 8 months, I think. As a volunteer. And I lived there, and I volunteered there, and I lived in a community there. And that was amazing. That exposed me to a lot of new ideas and people, and just really kind of cemented for me that the path of, being heart-centered and being in tune and feeling free, feeling creative, that those are all things that are really important to me. So that was a big one. As far as people, I would say Elizabeth Gilbert has been a big one for me.
Yeah.
I've gotten a lot out of her work and what she has to say about creativity and a lot in general. Yeah, those are the two that come to mind first.
I love that. And Elizabeth Gilbert, I mean, just talk about women who are being themselves, showing up authentically, like getting rid of what doesn't work, discovering, eat, pray, love. Yeah. Still just like, love it, yes. Right? Just talk about designing your life and owning your truth. Like, she's the epicenter of it. I love that.
Absolutely. Well, and then she's got they all seem to be great friends too. You have like Glennon Doyle and Cheryl Strayed and Brene Brown. Like it's kind of all of those women. I read all their books, and I love them.
Exactly. Yes.
And Martha Beck too, of course. Like I said, Martha Beck started me on this journey of like coaching many years ago, of being interested in it, and she still does today. She's incredible. Yeah. Oh, I love it. Well, Jasmine, thank you so much for joining me today. This has been an absolute pleasure, as I expected it to be. Yeah, it's been so fun. Thank you for having me.
Thanks for joining us today. I am deeply passionate about and committed to living fully alive and aligned to the true me, which is why I was drawn to life coaching. Like Jasmine, I see how so many of us are getting to midlife and questioning the culturally laid out plan that we've been on. The definition of success that we believed earlier in life is now feeling exhausting, unfulfilling, and definitely not peaceful or aligned with our true selves. I hope this conversation inspired you and rejuvenated your hope for life. The inner work and reflection that it takes to grow and align can be challenging, but it's so rewarding. If you're interested in taking that journey with me as your coach, please visit my website or direct message me through any one of my channels. As I continue this journey of discovery and holistic living, I hope you join me as I get to know more awesome, inspiring people in this Inland West region. You can find me, my coaching, podcast, and social media from my website, GemmaPutty.com. Please feel free to share, like, and let me know who you'd like to hear in the future. Sending all the love, light, and vibrancy. Till next time.